Hi all, I'm Carrie, still Carrie. This is Beyond the Accent, the podcast that you guys have been listening to for past, I want to say 17 weeks. And I'm very, very grateful that you guys are here. But I'm not alone this time round. Can't believe it. I've got someone visiting, and her name is Kristina Birk, and I am a fan. She claims that she's a fan of mine. I think it's the other way around. I was just hoping, Kristina, you could tell us, I don't know, how we met, first of all, and what is it that you do, and how we got here, how we ended up here.
It already feels like I've known you for quite a while, but if we think of how it happened, well, I ran into your profile while scrolling my Instagram, and I don't think it was even suggested. It was me going through a hashtag, I think.
They work, darn it.
But like, I never do this. It was like the first time I'd done it in quite a while. And then I saw your face and I saw your content, and I was like, oh my God, that's so exciting. And I think the first time you and I went live on Instagram, I'd already told you that I had this uncanny feeling of meeting someone from the same subculture as a teenager who likes indie bands, like indie films, something very obscure and underground, and very privileged in terms of sharing the same culture and language. So that's the vibe I got from you. And I was like, oh, I gotta follow her, and then I need to approach her somehow. And I was so nervous. How do I even start a conversation with her? Like a total colleague crush,
I love that.
Conceptualizing our relationship. It's a colleague crush.
Well, then, I mean, I feel the same way. And I did tell you that I definitely knew who you were, but I'm bad at following. But I'm now following both your profiles.
Yeah.
So I'm overcompensating. But
amazing.
I definitely knew you were out there. Do tell me, what is it that you do? I mean, we are colleagues, so I know what you do, but do tell everyone who's listening, what is it that we are, what is it that you are, and what's your professional avatar? What's happening?
That's a very profound question. So it depends on who asks me that question. I have been a pronunciation coach for over 16 years. However, my pronunciation coaching career has been modified and reshaped throughout the years by a lot of different factors. So I started out as an acting student back in New York City. And I took a lot of speech classes and a lot of Alexander technique classes, pronunciation classes from various teachers who were really incredible, very old, actually. Ironically, all of them were like super old and on Broadway, and they played very exciting characters like witches and warlocks and monsters and maniacs,
Quite the lineup you got there.
I know, octopi. So they were my teachers. So I started working as a pronunciation coach. I got hired as an assistant for one of my teachers who played a witch in like every play off of Broadway or Broadway, like in New York. Yeah. She was really infatuated with my attitude and how quickly I learned everything from her, and how I'd been from Eastern Europe, and how quickly I could like change different dialects and how I could adjust my sounds really easily. I was just so into it in general that she was like, oh my God, I think you're just definitely gonna end up working as a pronunciation coach for the rest of your life, or like, she was kind of predicting it. And I worked for free for about a year and a half, just assisting my speech teachers in New York City. And it was the best exposure, the best experience ever, because I got to work with people from everywhere. I had Chinese students, I had Japanese students, Australian, Korean, a lot of Eastern Europeans we had a lot of actually people from Texas who were also trying to sound more standard American or transatlantic.
Mm-hmm.
for some plays or a period piece. So that was
Mm-hmm.
really one of the most incredible exposures to get as a newbie, as somebody who was just starting out. And then I was like, okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get this certificate at the Cambridge University program, like the CELTA thing they have in New York City.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I got that just kind of to get more confidence. Things I do in life are kind of improvisational. Um, yeah, it's like a blessing and a curse sometimes, but the program was really cool. I really enjoyed it. And they hired me to work for them for a little bit, but I wasn't really satisfied with like the setup. And I have never been a fan of rules, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I was like, all right, so I got a spin off and create my own project to coach offline. I had a lot of acting students I coached. It was really fun. A lot of them were from my acting school that I attended for 2 years. I charged like nothing. It was very, very cheap to take my lessons at the very beginning. And then
Lucky bastards. All right. Okay. Okay. Where did you go to school, though? Sorry to interrupt. Which school, which acting school was that? Just wondering.
That's the neighborhood playhouse.
No! Oh my God, this is insane. I want you to go to the same school.
Really? No way.
Because I was reading, oh my God, this is so interesting. My Meisner technique was very
Yep.
much of interest to me for the longest time, and that's where
Guy.
it had started, right? But oh my God, you went to that conservatory? That is insane.
2 years. And I have a lot of great feedback
Ah.
because there were like some things that were not necessary.
I like that.
Like because it's like a 2-year program and there are a lot of things that
Right.
like you do there that are like, okay, like do I really need to take Martha Graham? It's like a ballet class for grandmas. It's like
Like that.
static. It's so boring. And it was like a lot of hours of Martha Graham technique. And you're like, come on. Like, I want to do hip hop, you know? Later
Yeah.
on, you realize that it was so amazing because actually you walk away from that school having the best kind of posture, move like an Egyptian cat. And, you know,
Is
you
that
like
so?
have different kind of stance and poise and you're like so classy and so sexy. And so it's actually a really great thing to do for everyone. It was a bit exaggerated. One of my favorite classes at the neighborhood playhouse was the Alexander technique class. That was really life-changing because I feel like you will relate to it a lot. Have you actually taken it or have you done your research?
I've been meaning to forever, but I don't know a lot about it. It's very like secretive with whoever teaches it. Like you have to take it to learn about it.
Yep.
So I was wondering if you could perhaps fill us in on like what the ideology behind it is and how it works and how it doesn't work. Tell us.
Well, so my Alexander technique teacher, he was actually a great representative of the method because he used to be an extremely insecure guy who really wanted to be a singer and he was so bad at singing and he was so insecure and so tight in his shoulders and in his stomach and his neck. He was just like tightness galore, or like tightness all over the place. He ended up taking an Alexander technique from one of his teachers. So long story short, he becomes this opera singer, incredibly magical one. Like you hear his voice, you're all goosebumps, and it's unbelievable. You almost feel like he's this angel. So he was my teacher, and it was really cool to hear his stories about how, you know, he used to be this hunchback, he's like this really insecure kid. Just give you like the essence of the method.
Yeah.
The method is like they conceptualize it as something they teach actors and public speakers and singers in order to help them release their tension, insecurities, anything that prevents them from showing their best performance. It's a wonderful method that is focused on your entire physique, a little bit of your psyche, and it marries both of them into an organic, well-balanced entity that becomes your identity. Oh, I'm getting poetic.
Identity. Guys, get your pens, write it down.
There is first this kind of scanner routine that needs to happen at the very beginning. And so they listen to you, speak and then read, and then they make a summary, and then you learn so much about yourself that you're like, oh, I'd rather, like, I wish I'd never heard this kind of feedback because it's so heartbreaking. You realize that you're technically like almost like a cripple in a speech sense, and you realize that, you have this kind of tension, that kind of tension, like every kind of tension imaginable, right? Then you start working on releasing the tension. So it's a lot of meditations and exercises where you do a lot of deep breathing. You lay on the floor. Then it starts to turn into a speech class, like a vocals class, like an opera class sometimes even.
This is so intriguing. I so want to be part of it. There's a number of schools that I've been wanting to. I mean, I've done classes. I've never been schooled, but it's so interesting that it was the Playhouse that you mentioned, and that's where you went. Because I was vacationing a couple years ago back in Vieques, which is in Puerto Rico. Little paradise, very much recommend going there. And I was reading Jennifer Grey's book. Jennifer Grey being the gal we saw in Dirty Dancing. And I've always been a fan of hers as an individual, if you will. So I was reading her book, and I am obsessed with Dirty Dancing, which isn't the best movie in the world, but it's part of my childhood. And
100%.
I've seen it maybe 2,000 times, if not more than that. And I was just, I don't know, I was really into her story. And in that book, she goes on to mention how she went to, what do we call it again? What's the full name of the place? Is it neighborhood or neighborhood?
The neighborhood playhouse.
Neighborhood playhouse, right. Both her parents were actors. Her dad was in cabaret and he got an Oscar for it. And she's like actor parents' kid. And I don't know, it fascinates me. And she's Jewish, and that also fascinates me at all times. And I'm very biased towards Jewish actors. And yeah, and she talked about her going there and what kind of experience it was and what her life was like at the time. And I just got this idea. I was like, Roman, who's, that is my husband, I think I might consider going there, even though it's 2 years. And most people who do go there are like 10 years younger than I am. But I will be looking into it. But I ended up going to T. Schreiber's school for some classes, which is like you just go for a couple months and then it's done with.
I was in New York City for 7 years.
That is a lot. Wow.
Yeah, I was pretty deep into like becoming a New Yorker. I was a playwright for like 4 years. I did some off Broadway playwriting and acting, and I even wrote a few things for TV. And so that's like how I started my filmmaking career path. But it was very like, it felt very unimportant and very like as a side job, because I still needed to have a lot of side jobs to support myself, to pay rent and live in New York City as a 21-year-old. I was bartending at night. In order to pay for the neighborhood playhouse, I bartended from 6 p.m. till 4 a.m. And then I'd go straight to the school and just kind of catch up on sleep a little bit, make myself like a cup of coffee, and then, take class.
Things we can do at that age. I mean, that is just, it's mind-blowing. It's just like a whole different person. Like, yeah. I didn't sleep at 21.
I didn't need any sleep.
It wasn't a thing, right?
Yep. Same here. And I was a very happy, busy, young New Yorker, taking my classes, bartending, meeting all kinds of exciting characters, a lot of really interesting artists and a lot of great writers. You had a question for me about the people I admire, like public figures, actors. Very exciting guy. His name is Nick Tosches. I believe he died a few years back. So Nick Tosches is a really, really great writer who gave me a lot of great pep talk to pursue my writing career. And he was my patron. He was my regular. I was a bartender for like 3 years when I moved to New York, and he was one of my patrons, regulars, and we had a lot of great conversations. He even took the time to read some of my first like snippets of the novel that you actually were very nice to purchase and start reading.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, we got to talk about that too, even though I've just started, right? So she's, first of all, the person you're listening to, a writer, a playwright, an actor, a voice actor, a coach, this, that. I mean, it's like, I don't know, dude. I mean, how many lives have you lived so far? I mean, and I don't know. I don't know. It's just, how does one contain all of those personas inside themselves? I cannot. I mean, honestly, no. I mean, this isn't me being cute. It's like, how? Because you are not 50 years old, you know. How do you have all those little things in your bio?
Though there are a lot of things about me that are very California, even the way I speak, I feel like I do a lot of the California, like Valley Girl thing sometimes.
Hello. But I love it. But it's intellectual Valley Girl, so that is my favorite.
I'll take that. Because one of my best friends, she's like full on Valley Girl, and we talk like every day. And I think it's, kind of it's impossible to not copy her. But anyway, yeah, so New York was my home for 7 years. I still think that I'm gonna end up living there eventually. I want to be around New York more often.
I bet, right? Absolutely. Oh, that'd be like a dream come true. My goodness. Okay.
I love it, and I miss it. And I think I once messaged you that ever since I moved out of New York, I never stopped missing it for a day. Yeah.
That's how it works, right? I mean, it's just like, that's the thing. There was a quote by someone. Who was it? Was it Frances Leibovitz? No, I'm not sure, but it sounded very much like her. Something about New York being the kind of place where you spend a certain time living there, and then you look at all those other people around the world living anywhere but New York, and you kind of ask yourself, are you guys like, well, like you don't say to them, but you guys have got to be kidding me. Like, how's that a thing?
It's very accurate.
Even London, you'd think cosmopolitan, like a northern capital. It's supposed to be something that does, that does it for you, and you can, transform into a Londonite. But no, I miss it the whole time that I was there. But tell me, what is it about New York to you?
Oh, it's everything. Well, first, I'm gonna sound very cheesy, but it's definitely the buzz,
Yeah.
the melting pot of a buzz. Maybe it's not true entirely, but you totally feel like you're levitating and you're like everything is and anything is possible, but not like in an obsessive La La Land kind of way, but in like a very human way, because like you literally leave your apartment in the morning and then every day is like a new novel. And so many things happen every day, even if they're not exactly what you aimed to achieve, but they're like so insanely cinematic and so literary and so poetic and so meaningful. And there are so many great human interactions and so much experience and so much learning and so much reading. And everybody reads on the subway. And there's this a lively discussion of the New Yorker magazine and the books everybody likes to read. And like, I know it's so exciting and so not superficial. And so, what's the word? I don't know. Maybe accepting is not the most accurate.
It kind of does work though. It's like whoever you are, a crazy on the subway, or insurance brokerage type person. You're part of it. You're part of the fabric, and it's almost like one doesn't work without the other. Yeah.
That's true. But like the funniest thing about LA, if we compare LA to New York, which is a total waste of time, they're completely different, entirely different, two like polar opposites. First thing, I took the subway in LA. I honestly had to pray. I thought I was going to be murdered or like, I don't know, kidnapped or something. I was wearing like a nice dress, preppy and clean. And then it turned out that the only people who take the subway in LA are DUI holders, which is driving under influence, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you know, they can drive technically for some time. Like hardcore alcoholics, people who are super high, or homeless people, or like very, very poor people who have a lot of kids and they
Yeah.
try to transport like their giant families by subway means, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't know that. And I was just genuinely excited to take the subway because I was like, oh, great. I live in downtown and I can take the subway to Hollywood. That sounds great. So dreamy. What a great metropolitan city, just like New York City. Everything is going to be so easy peasy. And so I took the subway and I was like, oh. I felt so threatened. I felt so uncomfortable, so out of place. I continued taking the subway for some time because I didn't have my driver's license for a really long time.
Did you carry your gun, or I don't know, like what was that? How'd that work out?
But I learned to underdress majorly. That's when I like went back to wearing my punk rock t-shirts, torn jeans, like just looking like, I don't have a job. I'm like in between jobs. Just not brushing my hair ever beforehand.
Okay, interesting.
We're holding on to like a weird like prop, like a creepy doll or like, I don't know.
Dude, no! You're so making this up. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad I never met you on that very subway. That wouldn't have been, no thanks. But would you say that it's more or less the same to this day? Because, I mean, I've never tried the LA subway. I don't know.
Do not ever try.
Gotcha. Okay, so consistent. It's very consistent. Good.
Very consistent, yes.
Okay.
I think, to be honest with you, maybe because I have this hidden ADD sort of pattern that comes and goes here and there. I think I have my life chapters when I'm extremely focused. There's no ADD. And then, like, whenever I'm unsure or, like, whenever I move to a new country, whenever I move to a new major city, I start trying a lot of different things. However, I think my entertainment industry career path has been pretty persistent. I still have a lot of voiceover jobs here and there.
Okay, ADD, always wanting to move towards, alternating pursuits, going into different domains. But it's more or less, that's the thing. That's where I wanted to go. It's more or less the same world, right? So it's the writing, the acting, the voicing. So like what's at the center of all those professional choices of yours, and how are they different to you is what I was wondering.
So for me, they're sort of the same. They are like the aorta of all of my pursuits has to do, I think, with vibration and the music and the eliminating the misunderstanding. So I was born in Ukraine, and then I spent a really large chunk of my life living in Russia. I believe that being an outcast and being bullied a lot by my ballet teachers, by other teachers like at school and my classmates, and then traveling abroad and seeing how, everything was a lot more accepting, understanding elsewhere, just kind of inspired me to create a formula, like a bridge between different cultures that would help other people like myself to be heard, understood, expressed, because I was friends with a lot of musicians and poets and writers growing up, dancers, and I would say 99% of my friends live abroad nowadays. Abroad meaning not in Russia, not in Ukraine, right? So yeah, we all ended up pursuing иностранный, because иностранец is such like a difficult word to conceptualize in English, because if you say foreign, it doesn't really carry the same connotation, right? English.
It
It's
does
foreign.
not.
No,
No.
iностранец, iностранка. It's like so different from foreigner. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that strangeness element to it. You're the odd one out, right?
exactly. The root of my pursuit, again, iambic pentameter all the way,
Good.
comes from, being alienated, being ostracized, being this black sheep in every Russian institution, I try to be part of.
Right.
Can you relate a little bit?
I'd say I would always feel more like a rebel. I was the problem for a lot of my teachers,
Same, actually.
Yeah. And I think you did mention that the last time we spoke, right, on Instagram. Well, it's kind of, well, that's the thing. So if you are if you are different, right, if you're a black sheep and you let people know that you are, that makes you a rebel, So,
Right.
but do tell, what is it? How rebellious were you, and how were you rebellious? What did it come to? What was it like?
I was just admiring your pink hair, and I was like, I wish I could say that I like had my pink hair and that was my rebellion. But no, actually, I didn't dye my hair until I turned 30. So none of that happened until I was 30. But I wasn't being rebellious by changing my hair color for the first time. It was just for fun. But I just would write really scandalous essays, challenge my teachers, the ones who tried to bully me, by like asking them really difficult questions that would make them feel really just graceful. Yeah, I tried to be like a very difficult nuisance of a student because I just wanted justice and equality, and I wanted everybody to feel heard and loved and cherished. And that annoyed a lot of my teachers. Actually, I should give my parents some cred because they were always on my side.
Oh,
They always supported me, and every time, they tried to destroy me at school, like they would show up and, I don't know, like do the negotiations and everything to protect me. That's something that gave me enough confidence to just say, all right, I'm going to peace out and relocate somewhere else where I'm going to find my crowd. I'm going to feel more welcome. Parents also had a lot of crazy stories from the Soviet Union. Dad was in a rock band, and both my parents were kicked out from the Komsomol party.
They're my people.
I guess that's the gene I got from my parents, and then they supported me in my anti-post-Soviet rebellion.
Yeah, I'm so here for it, right? The revolution that never was, right? Because it's no longer post-Soviet. It feels like it's pretty Soviet yet again.
Yep.
Good thing we're not around for it no more. But I so feel you, right? Well, that's the thing, right? So you felt like you belonged someplace else, and it must have been a matter of values. And would you say that you ended up in New York at one point had a lot to do with it? Its culture aligning with your values and vice versa? And how come it was the United States? Just wondering.
Another lucky accident. My first job in New York was I was a cashier at a Brooklyn diner, like a classic Greek diner.
That is gorgeous. Okay. All right.
It was so awesome. So that was my first job. And then the second one was I was a barista slash bartender, like a wine bartender. At this like closet gay bar near NYU in Manhattan, West 4th Street. Like everyone was gay there entirely, but like they didn't it wasn't in any way advertised as anything gay. It was it just seemed very bohemian and very, very intellectual, but like everyone was super gay there. So, and it was great. Actually, ironically, my speech teacher, after I bartended there for some time, ended up like asking me why I had this like really thick lisp in my English. I actually picked it up from some of my regulars. They like spoke with a really, really distinct
Could have been, right? A lisp, that is so interesting. The lisp in English is it's very much like not a problem compared to, how it would be perceived in one's Russian circumstance. So it's just like, yeah, it's a bit lispy, whatever. Like Elizabeth Gilbert, I love her lisp. I cannot get enough of it, right? Like, talk some more to me. Right. Okay.
But we were going for the standard American, like a theatrical
Lispless. I know.
lispless pronunciation. It was just kind of like going to America to check it out. No expectations, no nothing.
Yeah.
And I just immediately, instantly felt like I was home when I got there. And I really loved it right away. But then I didn't plan to stay there, and I didn't stay there right away. I went back to Russia. Did more studying in Russia. Everything just lined up, and no other place in the world made more sense than New York. And it was kind of like a very easy decision. Was New York an easy decision for you, or you had to think pretty hard?
I'm a bad student. I'm a fine teacher, but whenever someone asks me a question, I'm like, wait, what's happening? Where were we again? Okay, I'm not even kidding. I lost it again.
That's hilarious. So was moving to New York City an easy decision for you, or a bit hard?
Right. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. So, well, it was, it made sense because, back in 2013, well, actually 2012, Roman and I, that is my husband and I, now husband, he was then my, roommate and a boyfriend. I mean, two things at once. And, we had been planning to have him get into an MBA school. So that we can travel to the U.S. and stick around for a while and further plan what it is that we can do. Because for us, it was very much we got to leave Russia because you know why.
Because I know. Yeah.
And that was even before the Crimea things just got out of control, but they had been getting out of control. And Rome and I, we had been following closely, and we very much could see for ourselves where things were going. And a lot of our friends wouldn't believe us, and they, well, the joke's on them now, but they're still friends, and they're no longer in Russia, most of them. And we just had to come up with a plan. How do we relocate? And U.S. made a lot of sense to me because I'd already been. I had already made sense of the culture. I wanted to, reconnect. And for Roman, his best friend was living here. And he had just graduated from Chicago Booth, one of the top tier business schools in the U.S. And he just thought that, okay, well, this is a scenario that really works for a lot of people who've got talent on them, stamina on them. And, well, we felt Roman had it on him, and I did too. Yes, please, the triad. And that's kind of how it went down. So we spent a year like working on all those essays, cover letters, and he had to take a bunch of tests, and that's how we met, him and I. I was supposed to coach him for TOEFL, and we never quite got to it. So things just got glazed, confusing, convoluted, and nothing made sense anymore. But he did take GMAT and TOEFL in New York back in 2012, and I was there for it. I was around. I was being helpful, I think. And then a year later, we did move into Massachusetts. Babson School is the name of the school that he'd gotten into and ended up going to. And that is basically Cambridge, Wellesley. Have you ever heard of Wellesley School for girls? Yeah. Well, we lived like right across from the university, and it was a gorgeous park with a lot of deer in it. Amazing. And that's how it started, the trajectory towards getting, the permanent resident status. But it's just like we didn't get to it till a little over a year. We'd been, we'd been shifting. So it's just like, and a student visa, and I was the student's partner Okay. I was the
Oh.
dependent. Oh my friggin' God. It made my blood boil every time, at every checkpoint when you're talking to like
Oh
whichever
no.
officer at the border, I'd be like, yes, I'm the dependent. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I am. That's what
Oh.
there we are. And I was that. Then I was the dependent of a worker, and that was exactly why we ended up moving to London for a while, because he
Ah.
was moved with, with the company that he was and still is working with. And London just, it was so much friendlier in terms of what
That's what I
a
hear. Yeah.
dependent can do.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
pretty independent. It's what they are. So yeah, I could work. I could go to school. So I went to UCL, University College London. Did a 2-year program. Worked the whole time.
Was it
It was
worth
great
it?
fun. Oh, 100%, 100%,
Yeah.
right. And I
Amazing.
miss New York badly, of course. And you know what? We were there for COVID, and COVID was not as bad in terms of regulations and the like compared to New York's situation. So I think it was lucky for us not to have been here. And it was pretty bad here in New York in a lot of
Yeah.
senses.
That's
So
what I
I'm really
hear.
glad we're past it.
Actually, I was in New York at the beginning of 2021, and
Mm.
I remember a lot of the restaurants had those bubbles outside.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was really cold outside, but like they had these like plasticky bubbles for outdoor dining.
That is so interesting. We still have them. It's like it stuck around. So it's
Right, right. I remember,
it
yeah.
really wasn't a thing. Remember? It's
Yeah,
just like, yeah,
yeah.
no. You get inside, you do your thing, goodbye.
Yeah, they
No. It's
definitely
now they
maintain
want
some of
it.
them still, yeah.
They now want this Europeanness to them, and I like that. I love that. So I love the day drinking, the being able to be in and out all at once. Yeah, no, that's a good thing. What you gonna do? I
Yeah, it
mean,
was cute.
there's good
And
things and bad
a lot
things.
of the touristy places were completely empty, which was a big turn on.
That was
So
insane. My God, that is true.
I remember, living in LA at that time and just thinking that I wouldn't want to be in a big city, congested, crowded. LA had a lot of really beautiful transformations at that time. We had this massive migration of planktons. They were glowing in the dark, and all the beaches were shut down. So, but we could still see them from far away.
Mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm.
looked like something out of like a sci-fi movie.
I saw that in Vieques in Puerto Rico. We actually where you like you're in a boat and you have the paddle, and whenever you touch the water, they light up, right? That sort of thing.
Yeah, but nobody
Yeah.
needed to touch anything. So like
Amazing. Yeah.
every sunset, people would like gather up like around the the beach area, and it was so incredible to see all these
Mm-hmm.
rare species of birds,
Amazing.
and it was a very interesting time in California.
Oh, I know that there was New York, LA, so some bits of the US that are pretty much polar opposites of one another, which is also interesting in and of itself, West versus East. These are like two different personalities in you, I bet. And
100%.
but you're now in Dubai.
Freaking hot in Dubai
Mm-hmm.
that we live here. I've only been here for about a year. Husband has a job here, but in and out because it's only possible to live here for 5 months a year, 5.
Uh-huh.
So it's already getting to a point where you cannot do anything outside. So we leave around mid-May and return mid-November.
Okay, got it.
And so it's not really like a home base or a place where you can pull off like full-time living. It's been about a year of this kind of lifestyle for me.
I don't know what I feel, whether it's, envy or something, or I'm feeling bad for you. I don't know.
I've been avoiding decorating our apartments like where we live now
Mm.
because I'm like, what? Who the hell cares? Like, we're gonna leave anyway.
I
But
know.
now, like I've just freshly decorated everything really nicely, and I'm like, okay, so we need to pack in 2 weeks and leave for 6 months, and then we're gonna come back, and then I'm not gonna care about this rug anymore because it's been 6 months, and I change every 6 months. So yeah, it's been a little chaotic, and like how they say. I never like this phrase, but they say that you got to be careful with your wishes.
Be careful what you wish for. So what were your wishes?
So I remember when I was like maybe 10 years younger, one of my biggest wishes, I think I wished for like way too often. It was like to travel nonstop, like all the time, everywhere, like for the rest of my life. And now I'm kind of like, okay, so traveling is great. It's beautiful. It's very refreshing, and you learn so much every time you travel somewhere. But then I'm like,
reframe a little bit. Yeah.
so it's been a little bit strange in that sense. To be honest with you, having no home for lengthy periods of time has turned me into a hippie, which is, I think it's a positive update.
Okay.
Because before traveling so much, I think I was a little bit more reserved. And nowadays, I really just kind of have a completely open heart towards all cultures, all languages, all religions. I mean, I've never really had any animosity against anybody, but now it's even more apparent that I feel really like everyone is the same. I actually had a bit of an identity crisis because of that, because I was like, so I coach people to sound American, but like, who cares about this one American little niche of pronunciation, English, whatever it is, yeah? Because like the world is so big.
Yeah, there's a bit of a conflict there. I get it. So this is where then I guess I'm going to try and ask you, who needs this? What do you think? Who does it speak to? Who is it for? And how do we reconcile this understanding of things being way more versatile than they are within that framework and the kind of work we do? Because, I mean, I know there's ways, but I'm just wondering what you thought they were.
I think I do know an answer. I mean, it's entirely subjective, and correct me if I'm wrong and tell me what you think.
Yeah.
But after that identity crisis, I had to really sleep on it, put it in my pipe and smoke it. Everything in life comes with a regimen or like a set of laws, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't follow any laws, any regimen, any set of rules, right, you're kind of screwed. You can't really create any sort of shape or form or like a frame, or you're just kind of this amoeba, this existential everything. And it's nice to be connected to the universe on every molecular level. I'm all about it. Like when I meditate, that's my favorite meditation. I like to connect to everything entirely and turn into this amoeba. But it doesn't work necessarily when you do language learning or your pronunciation improvements or even just adjustment, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So everything comes with like a structure, and that's where you and I come in handy. And I think what you and I are best for, and again, I don't know, maybe it's my perception, but I think that's what I got from you, even just from the two conversations that we've had. You and I, we tend to be very non-judgmental in terms of like how people try to approach their pronunciation improvement, right? And I think that's what's really useful for anyone who's trying to maybe create a specific structure, just like create a reference point to stick to and follow. And because if you don't have anything like that, it's really just become kind of you're drowning.
Yeah, or drifting. Yeah, and it's just unhelpful.
Endless. Yeah. There's too much information. There are too many dialects and accents and everything. And so it's nice to have something to hold on to and to use as a reference.
100%. 1,000%. No, I'm with you. Moreover, I bet, you are a parent, unlike myself. I mean, I do got step kids, but they're not kids anymore and doesn't count. Okay. So they come in for the summer, they go. But you are a parent. So, I assume, I imagine that you and, your outlook when it comes to structuring, it's been affected by having a kid because you want that structure for your child because they, unlike you and I, the kids, they're not adults. They don't got adult brains on them. And that structure that it just needs to be, there needs to be some scaffolding. There needs to be some systemizing. There needs to be a ton of reference points for someone to be able to navigate whatever possibilities are offered to them on whatever level. So when it comes to learning a language, right, you also come in as, again, you and I, we learned English as kids. We started off anyways.
Right.
But a lot of the time, you approach pronunciation work, accent work, grammar, vocab, what the heck ever. And you are kind of like, you're demoted to the status of a kid in a sense.
Yep.
And you need that structure to be built for you. And you need a parent, a guide, whatever you want to call it, right? To take you by your hand and show you around, right? So, and yeah, but back to being a hippie, a tree hugger, which again, I totally like relate to that, and being open, right? One ought to be able to, it's like, I don't know, black and white, yin and yang. It's just, you got to be able to work both, right? Because one doesn't make any sense without the other. So the chaos, well, it makes no sense without the structure and the other way around. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm just agreeing with you entirely. It's exactly what I was going to say.
It did. I'm just sort of.
Yeah. We're just bouncing over each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would just say that actually that was one of your questions. I think it was the last one on your list.
Yeah.
And you asked me what would be one thing I would suggest that the accent trainees would need to stick to. I think that was the question.
Yeah.
So I took the time to think about it, and I think the answer has this direct correlation with what we just discussed. So it's to keep an open heart, yet be willing to adjust to a structure. Like a certain structure. And then I think the teacher you end up choosing is the carrier of the structure that suits you the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because every teacher has a different structure and every teacher has a different approach and everything. But the open heart is something that I really, I don't know how to communicate this with every single student necessarily, because not every student is about carrying an open heart throughout the day.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I actually wanted to ask you about like if accent reduction is more mathematical or like a creative thing. So for me, it's an entirely creative thing, but I'm also like I'm a total like right brain person. So but, I think actually I have been asking this question every single time I get a new student. So if I hear that somebody has any dilemma or any insecurity or critique towards the American culture, I start questioning if we're the right kind of fit, or I start thinking about how I could maybe direct them towards finding something that's going to help them open up more or like open their hearts towards the American culture.
I've never been able to do that. If I ever, because I haven't, gotten to work with a lot of people who've got issues with Americanness, and yet they want to somehow adopt it. But it has happened. And
I'm sure.
I don't really, I don't think it, what does one do with that kind of setup? Because, and should we?
It was for me. So I had a few students back in the day in LA. They were fresh out the boat, immigrants, and I think they just sounded really lost. And it had like their attitude had nothing to do with America. It was just, like a difficult transient time in their lives, going through an ego death where you become a brand new part of a new society and you don't know how to operate on a daily basis, how to communicate or anything, even like order a coffee. Right. So, and I think just by helping them to loosen up and not take things so seriously, kind of my approach towards like helping them to open up more. But I back then I wasn't even conceptualizing it as an open heart pursuit. Nowadays, I definitely I have even developed a few courses where like I do these like daily mantras about like things you need to repeat on a daily basis in order to like like learn to love the language. But some people want like a hardcore teacher who's going to yell at them if they hadn't done their homework.
I mean, that's the thing. Certain functions, they're not to be performed by me. it's just, and it takes a while to develop, I don't know, some kind of principled courage to be able to say, well, you know what, I think this is where you need to go, and this is who you ought to consider talking to. I've actually done that. I've had the audacity to say, I see you shrink on a weekly basis is great. I think the things that you're going through, you need help with, and I don't think I can take on that role because it just won't be working out for both of us most likely. So being able to say that right off the bat, that is being an adult, I guess, you know, whatever the profession is.
I think I've done this maybe twice. I think it's all connected. And the biggest thing is a lot of our compatriots, if I may, came from a pretty brutal educational system where they had a lot of insecurities opening their mouths, speaking English. And Eastern Europeans just have this uncanny fear and insecurity to adjust to the native speaking English. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's not even necessarily therapy worthy, maybe for some, for the ones who had other things that really triggered other things. But it's like in general, I think it's really just giving some love and comfort, making it like a safe place.
Absolutely. Oh, amen to that. Of course. Right. You've given so much of your time. It's been a pleasure.
It's felt like a second. Honestly, I haven't, like I totally lost track of time.
Yeah, it's been such a pleasure. And I don't know, we should like start our own podcast or something because there's just too much to talk about. I mean, thank you so much once more. This was Kristina Birk, an accent coach, a voice actor, a person of, you know, with an open heart. And I think that's, you know, what it takes to get to that point B without losing too much of yourself on the way. So Kristina here is, I think, an exemplar coach in that sense. And I hope we try and do something up together sometime soon, professionally or other ways, because this is definitely a good match. There we go.
Thank you so much. Yes, likewise. Ditto on all levels. Have a fabulous day.
Have a good night. Sleep tight. Yeah.
All right.
Talk soon. Thanks so much for your time. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.